So let's take a look at smart backtesting. Now, smart backtesting allows us to quickly test a trading idea that we built in multi-charts or TradeStation using EasyLanguage. And we can easily test it upon different markets and different time frames with just a couple of clicks. It's really quite simple. First, we just load our EasyLanguage code into Tradesq. And then we simply select the markets we're interested in backtesting, and then we select the time frames that we're interested in. Then we just let Tradesq do its thing. Now let's go to TradeStation and Tradesq to see how this works. Let's log in here. So we logged into Tradesq, and it's driven by these menus at the top with Smart Backtesting, Strategy Library, Forward Testing Settings, and some disclaimer information. We're going to start out with the Smart Backtesting. This will allow us to take our strategy and backtest it easily over many different markets and time frames. So we're going to select Smart Backtesting and schedule a backtest. All right, this is the backtest scheduler, and we have some simple steps here. The first thing we're going to do is go ahead and name our strategy. Outside, inside, with pullback. Then we're going to select the markets. So you can come in here and select whatever markets you might be interested in. But of course, what I like to do is just go ahead and select them all. This is the real power of using Tradesq, is to test your strategy across 42 different markets at this time, as well as different time frames. And we have 11 different time frames. Daily, 15 minute, 30, 60, 120, 180, 240, 360, 480, 600, and a 1440 minute chart. So we can see here that we have 42 markets selected with 11 time frames. And assuming just one parameter permutation, we're already going to do 462 backtests. So the next thing I want to do is put in the EasyLanguage code. And you can see here there's a box here to paste your EasyLanguage code into. All right, just cut and pasted the EasyLanguage code. We also have an option here to select this for data 2. If you have EasyLanguage code that's using data 2, you could choose then which market. So for example, you could have VIX on data 2 as an additional data stream, or just simply another market. Don't have that for this one, so we're going to ignore it. Now, we have in sample backtest 2. So Tradesq, what it's going to do is if we just ignore this, this is the current date by default. Today is July 12th, 2022 at the time of this recording, and we could just leave it as is. So what this would do is if we ran this, it's going to run through all the historical data to perform our back tests as we defined here, and it's going to use all of the historical data all the way up to the current date right here, the 12th of July 2022. Now, what if you wanted to leave some data out for out of sample? That's what this is for. So perhaps what we want to do is leave the year 2022 as out of sample. So what you could put in here is 12/31/2021, and what this would tell Tradesq to do is go ahead, use all of the history up until December 31st of 2021 as the back-tested data. Then what it would do is use the starting date of January 1st, 2022 as unseen walked forward data. You know, this is a great feature for leaving some unseen data, but a lot of times when I'm doing these back tests, I'm just testing, a price pattern, a key idea. It's just a basic market observation, and I'm doing research, and I like to include all the data. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back to today. All right, now what's next? Now what we're going to do is press this process strategy. What it did is go ahead and locked this information up here. You can see that it's grayed out. And then it took a look at our strategy's inputs so we can do some optimization on this. So I have the long short bias. I'm going to optimize between -1 and 1 in steps of 1. Bar count, we can do 1 through 10 in steps of 1, and exit bars we'll do 1 through 10 in steps of 1. Now we can see here that we've reached a maximum. Tradesq allows a maximum of 121,000 backtests. We have too many here. So I'm going to change this maybe to a 2 and a 2. And so that brought it down underneath their maximum limit there. So we're doing 112,000 total backtests. Now, what you would do is go ahead and press Backtest Strategy, and that would queue your strategy up for testing. I'm not going to do that quite simply because I've already done this test before, and I don't want to take up resources and just run this test again. But let's pretend that we did press this. That would put it into the queue for backtesting. And then what you would do is come up here and go look at the worker queue. Now, at the time of this recording, there's no processes here running. I'm not running my process, and just by chance, it doesn't look like anybody else is running their process now or performing a backtest, which is sometimes unusual. A lot of times you'll see a few ideas being tested. You'll see the queued items as well as the processed items happening here. And this is where you could keep an eye on where you are in the queue and when your strategy is being processed. Depending on how busy Tradesq is and how complex your trading strategy is, it could take several hours to as much as a day before your strategy is actually processed. When the results are in, we would actually go to Strategies. So we go under Smart Backtest Strategies, and we could see all of our back-tested results. And so here you can see all the ideas that I've tested. Let's go to our one we're interested in. Here it is, outside inside with pullback demo. This is the one I ran a while ago, but it's the same code. And you get this EdgeMaster's back-tested results. So here at the top, we can see our parameters and the markets that we ran, as well as the time frames. You can see when I ran this earlier in the year, I used a different values here for the look back and exit. But that's not what's important here. The real results, the real important thing is this matrix that is created. This is where all the magic happens. And think about what we just did. We had Tradesq take our trading idea and then test it across many different markets and many different time frames. And what it's going to do is build this table for you. So across the top, we can see we have which sector we're looking at, which market, and then of course all of the different time frames. So going down on the left-hand side, we can see that we have several different markets that are popping up here. And then across to the top, we can see all of these time frames. Now, each of these then have these numbers like 55, here's 56, here's a 15. What do these mean? Well, the first thing we have to understand is our screening parameters. We don't have all the markets showing up here. What's actually getting displayed here is a subset of all the data that was generated during the backtest. The backtest generated a bunch of information across all markets and time frames, but we're just looking at a subset. And that subset is controlled by our screening parameters. Clicking that will bring up our screening parameters, which we can change. So what I'm essentially saying is, hey, Tradesq, show me the strategies that have more than 30 trades, a minimum P&L of 3,000, a minimum R2, and R2 is a measure of how linear the equity curve is, and that's going to be from 0 to 1. We want to have a minimum return or net profit versus drawdown of 1.5, and we want the average trade of 100. So that's what's controlling what is displayed in our back-tested results. All right, so that's what's being filtered. And so when we go take a look at like the British pound here, under the daily time frame, we have 55. What does that mean? Tradesq calls these edges. Thus, at the top here, this is our EdgeMaster backtested results. So when we look at the British pound under the daily time frame, we have 55 edges. And this is a link. We can click on that. This will take us to the strategy screener. And this information is just our screening information printed here for just a reference. And then what we see is the individual back-tested runs that met our screening parameters. And we could see here that run 39618993 contained these parameters. Long, short, both was 1. Our bar count was 2. Exit bar 3. And you can see the one below it was a bar count of 14. Exit bar 2. Each one of these is a run in the backtest that met our screening parameters, and then thus this is called, each one of these is an edge, and we had 55 edges for this particular market. And we can come in here and look at any one of these individually. Let's just pick this top one. It has 31 trades. We can press this number here, and it's going to give us our equity curve, our back-tested equity curve with our performance metrics. So if we back out of here, going back to our table, in general, the higher the number, that means the more edges that passed your screening parameter. What it basically shows is more numbers means more of the parameters were passing our screening parameter test. So in general, I like to look at higher numbers. The higher the number, the more edges there are in our favor, the more likely this trading idea will work or be somewhat robust. So what this allows us to do is we can come in here and take a look on the daily chart. Which market should we be looking at? Well, it looks like British pound looks pretty good. Japanese yen, there's a 14. And here, lean hogs has 16 edges. And then, of course, we can go on intraday. We can see that the 1440 minute is also very popular with the British pound, Japanese currency, Japanese yen, as well as lean hogs. But we can also see, if we go over here, look at this one. There's 53 edges for the ES market on a 60-minute chart. So apparently this can work pretty well on a 600-minute chart of ES. Let's go take a look at all the different edges. We can see that they're all LSBs are all 1, so that means it's long only, but we have a lot of different parameters for the bar count and exit count that produce positive results with an R2 well above 90. So let's just grab one here. Not bad, right? So this tells me that this is a great starting point for a strategy for the ES market on a 600-minute time frame. Pretty cool, right? So let's go back out here. What else? We can also see on the 600-minute that RTY looks pretty good, and lean hogs. Let's go take a look at lean hogs. And we can see here it's actually going long and short because LSB is 0, and a lot of these parameters are looking really pretty strong. Here's the equity curve, not as clean, but again, a starting point for a strategy perhaps for lean cattle with this trading idea on a 600-minute chart. So we can also see that on lean hogs, we got a 360-minute, 480-minute, and YM on a 21-minute. You can get many, many different trading ideas by taking one concept and applying it to different markets and time frames, allowing Tradesq to build out this matrix to help us locate areas where our market may have a positive edge. Now, sometimes you'll come in here and there are just too many. There's just maybe dozens and dozens of ideas. Well, then what we would do is tighten up our screening parameters. So maybe we want the R2 to be above 80. and we want our return versus drawdown to be above 2.0. So then if we do this, this should really narrow down our matrix. And we can see that this matrix now is even more compact. We narrowed it down to even a more stricter selection. Now once you run a backtest, which is nice, it's always going to remain. You can go back to strategies under smart backtesting, and you have under my strategies all the strategies that you have currently run. So something that you ran, I have stuff in here from last year. You can always come back in here, take a look at your strategy, and see what the results are. Another thing to consider is, well, what about slippage and commissions? Well, if you go under settings and market configuration, you can see all the different symbols that Tradesq is going to backtest on. And let's just grab one here. Soybean oil. We can see that slippage here and commissions are already accounted for. And what's nice about this as well, when you are looking at a particular symbol, you can come into the symbol and see exactly what the slippage and commission was, as well as what type of sessions are we working with. So if we go back to our strategy, and let's say we wanted to pursue our lean hogs, so it's LE, market configuration, LE, this one, so it was live cattle, and we could see what the slippage and commission was, as well as what the sessions were, as well as the rollover information. So this just gives you insight into some of the more technical aspects of slippage and commissions, sessions, and rollover information that were used and assumed throughout the backtest. I think I may have misspoke and called this lean hogs when it was live cattle. All right, so I think that's a pretty good overview of smart backtesting and using the EdgeMaster backtest. So that's the power of the smart backtesting. You can see how powerful this is by taking some of your trading ideas, running it through, and using the EdgeMaster backtest results to help narrow down potential trading systems on different markets and on different time frames.